Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Blue is the New White podcast. Today we've got an awesome guest ready to share her infinite knowledge about marketing blue-collar businesses. Brittany Murphy, the marketing director for One Thing Marketing, focuses strictly on home service companies. Brittany grew up around the skilled trades with her dad actually being a pipe fitter, and she attributes her love for building things to the values that he instilled in her from a young age. After going to college for something completely unrelated to marketing, she found her passion in using her creativity to serve those in the blue-collar space and joined forces with One Thing Marketing about 10 years ago now. Listen in to hear Brittany's journey and some actionable advice that she has for business owners to effectively utilize marketing to level up their businesses. As always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and on our website at bitnw.academy to receive all the latest updates. You can now find this podcast on iHeartRadio, SiriusXM, and Pandora. As always, we rely on word of mouth from our listeners to further this mission. So if you enjoyed the episode, please take a second to rate it, review it, and share it. The future generations of tradespeople depend on it. They depend on you. Also, if you're looking to advance your blue-collar career or propel your business, be sure to check out the brand new Blue is the New White Academy at bitnw.academy. That's bitnw.academy. So thank you again and enjoy this episode of Blue is the New White with Brittany Murphy. Excited about our guest today. She reached out to me cold, and I love when we can find synergies in people who do that. So if you're out there and you're listening and you think you can add value to my audience, please reach out, as Brittany Murphy did from One Thing Marketing. Brittany, welcome to the Blue is the New White podcast.
Thanks for having me, Josh, and glad my marketing tactics are working.
Hey, you know what? All the more reason to bring you on the show, right? Clearly you're credible.
Absolutely. It's proof is in the pudding.
That's right. No, I do appreciate you joining us today. So, before we kind of get into anything tactical, anything strategic, I want to get to know you a little better. I want my audience to get to know you a little better and maybe why you're on the show. So could you share with us just a little bit, who is Brittany Murphy and how you got to where you are today?
Absolutely. So first off, I am not the dead actress, unfortunately, from 8 Mile. I'm a completely separate person. So I am right now the marketing director at One Thing Marketing. So what I do currently is I help business owners in the trades construct their business plan for marketing and execute it. But I was born in the late 1900s, and my father is a retired pipe fitter. So I kind of had the beauty of, as growing up, being someone in the trades. So I got to see my dad come in and bring all sorts of equipment in, all sorts of tools, got to learn a lot about it, really kind of enjoyed what he got to do, found it interesting. As a kid, my grandmother would take me when he was at public places, redoing all of the sprinkler heads. And I got to see my dad like on a, 4-foot scaffold, which probably isn't too high for some people. But for me as a kid, I was like, holy crap, my dad's all the way up there. Don't fall. Just really kind of loved it. But what's funny is you and I kind of talked previous to this. And, the thing I like to tell everybody is I absolutely love the trades. I'm so glad that you have this podcast and really spreading more knowledge and awareness about it, because even though my father was in the trades, my mother was not. And both of them wholeheartedly pushed me to say, you need to go to college. Don't even think about doing what your father does. Hopefully you get a good job like what your mother does at a computer desk. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot easier on your hands and body as you go through the workforce with it. So kind of a fun background growing up. I did obviously follow their plan, went to college, got a lot of normal jobs, just kind of in and around about being near a computer. And as of today, I spent the last 10 years in front of a computer mainly. As I said, doing all the sales and marketing, I am doing that desk job. But the beauty is, luckily, our company decided, actually, even before 2020 hit, we wanted to niche down. We wanted to take that big marketing jump, which I'm sure some marketers have told you, riches are in the niches. I'm sure you've heard, right, Josh?
I've heard of something similar to that. Yes.
Yes. Well, it is kind of true for us as well. We found out that over half of our clients were in the trades and kind of really deemed that they're the ones that got the best benefit from good marketing, mainly because the buyer, home buyers, usually their target market, they are more quick to make decisions and very apt to not know what goes on with their home. And they need that expert to kind of come in and do that work for them. So it's kind of a beauty, the blend of, from my background, really understanding that trades do not have time to be knowledgeable in marketing. They can, but I saw my father work 60 hours a week. He did not have time to even know what a website was when he was in the trades. Yeah. So really kind of helping serve these guys that I feel that were underserved for a long time in the marketing field.
That's awesome. All right. I want to stop you there. I got a couple questions.
Yeah.
So you said that you found your dad's profession interesting when you were a kid. So if you had to really think about it, what was the most interesting aspect of it, aside from looking up at that 4-foot scaffolding, right? But what kind of was your thoughts, your perceptions, and if you have to fast forward to, high school or something you can remember a little better, that's fine. But I'm curious about that.
Well, so my dad really got me into like Legos and building blocks. And I made those like roller coasters out of like the Connects kits or whatever crazy, construction things you're doing as a kid to keep you out of their hair. They really got me into that. So I love that idea of construction, like building something, seeing how it all comes together. My dad would watch How It's Made, that TV show, and I don't know what channel it's on, but we would be addicted to watching it just because it's so fascinating to me. I am not an engineer, but the aspects of who thought this through? How did they create it? I mean, all the aspects that go with it. I really loved that. So what I didn't love is, I do have a little fear of heights. So I didn't love the idea of my dad, being on tall ladders, going up and down them all day. But I love the aspect of he was a pivotal step into creating this huge new construction build or a part of an awesome remodel of an old historic building downtown that he got to work with. I always thought that was really fun to see the before and afters, and the transition of it happening. But definitely did not enjoy seeing his hands being oily, greasy, and completely torn up from taking as many, fire sprinkler heads off as he could in one day to kind of renovate a building quickly. So the appeal is, I think, the bigger picture of it. And, I'm a female, so I don't want to get completely in the weeds all the time, but I love to be mobile and moving and really be physical. And I love that aspect. Is my dad's still a very healthy person, and I think a lot of that is due to the fact that he had a very physical, demanding job for so long. He didn't just sit here, day in and day out, 12 hours at a chair and a desk, and he was able to be that physically active side of it. I just think that was really kind of awesome to see the big picture of it and how my dad played a part.
Yeah, no, that's great. And that's a really great answer. I love that because, as we do the show, right, and I get to know my guests, I like to make associations and kind of connect dots anywhere that I can. Most of the time I'm wrong, but I love to do it regardless. And, one of the things that I'm sensing here is the transferable skills that I've talked about before, or even let's call it a transferable mindset, right? You said that what fascinated you was the building, right? The building and the construction. And, one of the things that I preach is, being able to find the passion in whatever it is that you're doing, not necessarily being passionate about what it is that you're doing. So what I mean by that is that, you were able to take that building mindset and apply it to something like marketing. And from our previous conversation, right, you've been helping build a marketing firm for the last 10 years. So these are the types of things that, people don't really draw associations to when it comes to the trades. It's very easy to look at a pipe fitter topically, right, and say, they're just fixing the pipe or taking valves off or, tightening the system or whatever it is, and not necessarily look at the fact, well, hey, maybe they're instilling an incredible mindset in their daughter and on the importance of actually building something, no matter what it is.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. I mean, the thing I felt like my dad always looked stressed and is a hard worker. And I think that really kind of taught me something as a young kid, that life's not going to be easy. My parents maybe want to know that as early as possible, which I really appreciate. But he was kind of the physical representation of that, I would say. So it is a very good thing, I feel like, for any parents of young children. We might think at times that, hey, this seems like the dirty job or the unsuccessful job because you didn't get a college degree. But 9 out of 10 times they're making more than people out of college, and there's all the other benefits outside of it that I think we just kind of squash because of just the old thoughts with it. So yes, it has been great to see both sides of it and really understand the beauty of both white and blue collar, but mainly blue collar because it runs the white collar side.
No, that's great. I love that perspective. And it's an important lesson to learn. My dad always said that too. Nothing in life worth having comes easy. Right. And, I'm thankful that mindset's instilled in me, and I'll instill it in my kids. So next question, you went to college. What did you go to college for?
Merchandising, apparel, and textiles with a minor in business.
So glad I asked.
I was in the College of Agriculture. I mean, it is more of a degree where you go in to manage, if not buy, retail establishments. So my first job right out of college is I went directly into retail management, high up in the executive team leadership at Target. It was a great experience. I got to use my degree somewhat, but also found out that maybe that's not what I wanted to do. And especially when it comes to more corporate, you have no access or no rights to have any creative ability. And so what's the point of being a good marketer if you can't use your skills?
So how long did that last?
I was there for a little over 2 years. And by that time, I kind of decided I needed to get out of it. It was, as much as I thought it was going to be fun, it was a great leadership training. However, you are expected to work at least 60 hours. More so, I was averaging about 75 to 80 a week. And so when I did the math, I realized I was making about as much as the cart attendant at our store.
Amazing.
And said, maybe I need to look elsewhere and do something different. This isn't worth it anymore.
Oh my gosh. Typical 4-year degree?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So you were in the profession half the time that you were in schooling for it?
Yeah.
Just to be clear. Okay, cool.
Just to be clear, basically only 6 years in merchandise and apparel and textiles. And I said, get me the hell out of here.
Oh my goodness. And then is that when you got involved with the marketing side with one thing or with something else?
So I had a year where I worked for an insurance company on their marketing side. So I finally got to kind of do a little bit of it. However, I found the repercussions of I was a very high performing employee for them and the only one that actually understood how to do underwriting for their documents. So I would get to those really quickly so I could work on marketing because that was how the task load worked. Well, I was the only one doing them correctly. So they would pull off marketing so I could do more of the underwriting for people who weren't doing them correctly. And I was like, why would you punish someone for doing good? And so that kind of found out,
Because it's easy.
you know what? I just want to go 100% to marketing. I don't want to fight anybody over doing things that are not what I'm truly passionate about. So that's kind of where about 6 months into insurance, found, and then I found Dan, who is the founder of One Thing Marketing. And it was a brand new startup company. It was only a few years old. And he was really looking for kind of someone like myself to want to jump in and drive it as far as we could. So that was where it was a much better fit, taking that jump into it and getting out of definitely the insurance world, because that's what my mother was in. So I realized what a computer looking at that is like. But much better than even the retail side of, I was at a physical job. I was able to be on my feet 80 hours a week and I didn't enjoy that. So yes, it was a nice little about few year acquisition into kind of doing what I'm into. And then the past decade, I have been a joyous marketing director here at One Thing.
All right. So one more question before we kind of transition into the next phase of the podcast. I don't know if I've ever said that before, but what drew you to marketing?
So I talk out loud and I brainstorm out loud. And part of that means that I can say some crazy ideas. And a lot of times the people who would listen to me really liked what I had to say, although it was crazy against the wall type of stuff. Marketing allowed me to find and utilize that creative bone in my body. I mean, I'll be honest, Josh, the reason I went to a college degree to get a degree in merchandise and apparel and textiles is I grew up sewing my entire life. You know, my grandmother taught me how to make things. I made I think it was my junior year or my senior year prom dress. I was in the newspaper for it. I did different fashion shows, designed for all of it, and really loved it. However, during college, when I went to go tour New York City and went to a lot of the design houses, I hated it. I hated New York, actually. I'll just be honest. It snowed, I think, 18 inches while I was there. Both my boots I bought while I was there got holes in them, felt miserable, hated the hustle and bustle. And I think I realized I want to be creative. I want to have some type of outlet. Doesn't mean it had to be fashion design, which is what my previous high school self had gone through and applied to schools for, to kind of go down that degree with it. So I think this allowed me to kind of a little bit more stability I don't think that there's many fashion designers out there that people know of, because that's how hard it is to be successful in that field, versus you can find a way to help people with knowledge and creativity in other industries. And that's what I wanted to do.
That's awesome. You know, it's amazing what we find as we age, right? As we grow up and as we start to learn the difference between practical decisions and, well, every other decision. And, you know, I think that resonates with people. Almost everybody that I've talked to on the podcast has some sort of similar, hey, I thought I was going to do this, but I didn't really enjoy it, or I didn't think, you know, or it just wasn't me. Before I got into this industry, I was a stuntman. I mean, you know, my audience knows that already, and they know the story about, you know, it was what I thought I was born to do until I actually started to do it for a career. You know, it was cool when it was a hobby, but once it was a career, it was like, you know. So I think that's just an important step in the journey to where we are today.
Absolutely. And I think that kind of also relates to the fact I appreciate how my parents pushed me. I don't regret the background and the history I went through, but not to say I needed college to do what I do now is basically what I'm trying to get at. I mean, 10 years into this role, definitely don't need college, because anyone who comes out of college and applies to work for us, I laugh, because they're like, well, I took a class in SEO and ads, so I'm ready to go. And I laugh and I say, okay, great. So in 2 weeks when I hire you, I have to retrain you everything, because that's how marketing works. Your degree does nothing here.
It's completely outdated by the time you graduate.
And the joke of the MBA, actually, just one caveat, side story, and then I'll get off of this, and it's probably something you appreciate. My very last class as a senior was in like econ 204, you know, like the last year of it. And my professor, he was very, very Southern, very blunt, very direct, and I absolutely loved it. And one thing in this huge auditorium he said was, he just kind of had Q&A class before the last final. And someone actually stood up, raised their hand and said, hey, would you suggest an MBA, going directly after we graduate here and getting an MBA here? And he said, fuck that. And we all just like, oh my, what? And he was like, don't do it. He's like, you know, if you're going somewhere where you're going to be a doctor, somewhere that needs that next degree, he's like, I obviously understand this is a class you're taking. You're going to need to do that. But if you're going for an MBA, he's like, I promise you, every employer that you apply to in, 2 to 3 years from now, after you graduate, is going to see this as a 5-year degree, which means it pulls nothing. You have absolutely no experience, nothing relatable to bring to the workforce yet. You have a degree, you have a piece of paper, you have hours of classes and studying, but no real world life experience. So don't do it at all. You can if your parents are pushing you, I get it. But I would say, fuck that thought process, get out there, get real world experience, and then come back to get it should you need it to level your game up. But I can almost guarantee you 9 out of 10 times you won't need it. And it's still stuck with me today. And I joke, I've thought about it once, and then I thought of him saying that. And I said, my job does not require an MBA for me to be good at what I do. It requires me to do more self-education online of what's changing every single day than going to a class that might have textbooks that are from 2 seasons ago. That's going to have nothing into the world of how it works. It's just broad thoughts that you can learn very quickly and easily without having to spend those tens of thousands of dollars on those credit hours. So just, I'm on the same path as you. I'll be honest. I love what it's done for me, but not a necessity at all.
No, I love it. I appreciate you sharing that story too. That's really impactful, and it speaks volumes. I've always said the right education for the right individual, right? And,
absolutely.
I don't want a surgeon working on me because they watched a bunch of YouTube videos, but other than that, I mean, I'm right there with you. So, all right, let's pivot a little bit. All right. We know, and especially you being in the marketing space, we know that the trades as a whole, plumbing, mechanical, HVAC, electrical, all of them, that we have a perception problem, right? And people don't view these jobs as sexy, right? They don't. They think that, there's this narrative going around that if you can't cut it in college, this is what you do. You can go into a trade.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So it's an alternative. Someone just posted this. One of my friends on social media just posted this. He said, can we stop talking about the trades as an alternative to college? right? It's basically screaming that if you can't cut it in college, that you got to fall back on a trade. And so, I know this is kind of a long rant, but I just want to drive the point home that, people don't want to be in these industries like they want to work at Google. People don't want to be in these industries like they want to work on Wall Street. It just doesn't have that same feel, but it can because of what it does for society.
Yes.
Right? So from a marketing standpoint, right, looking at this through your lens, your experience with, the skilled trades, with your dad coming up in it and now, serving the trades, right, through marketing, how can we work to change these perceptions?
Oh, well, I think hopefully it's going down the right path, but I really think it kind of comes down to those in the trades sharing more about what they actually do than us seeing the teeny tiny bit of perspective we have seen. I was watching Ryan England's and yours podcast you just posted, and I know Ryan pretty well. We like to send our clients to him when they're having struggles hiring because, as he mentions, hiring is all about marketing. So we need you to kind of get on board with that to realize that anyone of whatever age wants to see the fun in what you do. That's what drives them there. Now, younger generation, so we're saying the ones graduating high school and trying to figure out which way to go to start their lifestyle. Well, we'll be honest, they're on social media all the time. They're looking into everything. And if they have that little bit of interest in construction, like what I had when I was growing up, I'll be honest, I still watch Instagram reels of people building things and that time lapse of start to finish. It's still something in me that I think is absolutely so incredible and fun and interesting. There are people out there like that have this interest, but we haven't done a good job of marketing ourselves. And that's why we niche down into this trade. Like, these guys are not doing a good job marketing themselves. Luckily, they survive because it's a need. People don't know how to do it. And it's a huge referral network that most businesses started with. I'm sure that's what your dad's business really was doing well when it was just two guys, like just feeding referrals. And then to grow that, you have to do more. And I think with doing more of that, we're able to see more of the background, the culture, the lifestyle of what this is. I think that does grow it. I also think that people be more open and honest about the fact that it is lucrative. You are going in almost getting paid to get your degree or license and, what you're trying to be the expert technician at. You're sometimes even giving a work vehicle. The benefits for trades, because we're struggling so much in hiring, huge. If you joke of call any marketing company, there's obviously huge ones that do thousands and hundreds of thousands of clients and they're working with like Coca-Cola. Yes, they're obviously doing well. But if you call a normal marketing company at any state in our country, they are not paying the same amount as what a technician brand new into the trades is getting paid. And this poor kid straight out of college jumping into marketing have what? College debt. And now, so they're going against it. So, I think that awareness is growing some. But I think just the stigma of how we show ourselves and how we brand ourselves hasn't fully caught up, because I think the stigma still of a plumber has to show their butt crack. Why is that still a thing, we think has to happen, given there are those who keep that stereotype going. They are, driving it home. But I think that the other side of it is people respect people who know how to do things well and are solving a problem for them. So I don't think you have to belittle yourself or even think of it differently. And I think that's kind of the thought process. We need more homeowners to realize. I think as one becomes more of a homeowner, they do realize the importance of these roles. But I think they start to get scared of who's trustworthy and who's not, because it is still an area that they lack a lot of knowledge on.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really fair statement, right? Because, maybe the actual knowledge and skill isn't so much the question. It's, are they going to use that knowledge and skill against me? All right. So that's actually, I'm really glad that you brought that up. I think that's the first time I've heard that on this show, framed like that. And I'm glad that you say that the awareness is growing too, because sometimes I can't tell, the social media algorithms are all tailored to me. So I don't know if I'm just like living in my own little bubble, like, oh, look how much everybody talks about the skilled trades.
Yes.
If it's just in my network or what. And I'm a realist. I think that awareness is probably getting better, especially as the next generation starts to take over some of the skilled trades companies out there. There's a lot of family-owned blue-collar businesses, And, as the next generation, hopefully successfully takes over from, that first generation, that we'll be able to see some of the things that they value more in marketing, in transparency, in sending the right message, right? And kind of helping to raise all ships with the tide, right?
Yeah. And I think something I'm noticing as each generation's taking over more and more as well is that past generation's thought process and visibility and kind of branding of themselves, they don't like anymore. They really do want to hold themselves to a higher standard, which I love. And now it's even more easy to find that company. I mean, if you think just a generation ago, we had the yellow pages. I mean, we still have the yellow pages, but I don't know who's using it now. But you would just have an ad in a book, right? There was no easy place just to Google someone real quick and find out all their social media, everything they've posted, all of their projects, before and afters, testimonials. We have never had the ease at our fingertips in which we do now. So I think that because these companies are doing such a better job of marketing themselves and sharing these things, we're able to see how good someone is and kind of the tier systems of these companies in which we're giving more trust to them. So I think these guys that have more trust in their industry, in their city, are going to be seen as better, and almost kind of that next tier where they're not going to come in looking dirty, unkept, and unprofessional when they come to your home. Like, this is a real professional dressed to the T that's coming in a branded truck. Like, that's actually the new perception most homeowners have. So it's no longer Joe in a truck.
Yeah.
It's Joe's professional HVAC team and 5 trucks, come into your place. Like, that's changed with every generation, which I love. And as they grow, I think those changes each time we have new management really helps push more of the aspect of, we want to be seen as the best in the business. And so best in the business deserves that type of visibility and that type of perception to the client, if that's who they're also looking for in return. And I think every homeowner wants the best technician come into their house.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's really well said. For anyone out there that's a big reader, what's the book that Seth Godin, with the Purple Cow? Is that right? I don't remember. Anyway, basically the theory is, right, really, how do you stand out in a crowd? So I've got an idea.
Yeah, Purple Cow.
Purple Cow. So yeah, I've got an idea for everybody out there. If you want to make an impact, if you want to stand out, and you own a home appliance company or a residential HVAC company, dress all your technicians to the nines in a suit and tie and give them a tool bag and send them to the house. That'll get some attention.
Absolutely. Actually, I know an HVAC company here locally that does it. He's the owner.
He's out of here.
The son taking over for his father, and he's actually kind of doing the marketing just to kind of build it even further while he still has his dad as the team to play technician. And he comes dressed up in a suit. And I'm always so surprised, but I'm always like, this is an amazing change of pace. And also it gets my attention. This is marketing I can be on board with, my man. And he was like, thank you. This is exactly what I'm trying to do, is change how people think about how we're going to show up. He's like, yes, I'm putting an HVAC in your home. You think nothing of me, but you're also investing $5,000 to $10,000 in me. So I need to show up looking like I'm going to make sure that that's the best $5,000, $10,000 you spent. And you can trust me with that money when you give it to me. I was like, get it, man. That's a great thought. But yes, that's exactly what you want to do. You want to stick out and stand out in those ways.
That's so fucking amazing. I feel so validated right now. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I think about all of the different things and resources that businesses are sharing now. If an architectural firm is posting on social media their designs, and then those designs come to life, I mean, the people more actively on social media is the younger generation. So hopefully, my goal is that through marketing for people now to get business now, we're hopefully targeting those younger generations to see how cool and how neat and how sexy this can be. It is. I'll be honest. I married a guy in construction. It is sexy to know that anything I want done to this house, he can do. He knows how to do it. It is the best thing ever. I don't have to complain as a new wife of, I need this done and you're not doing it. He knows how to do it and he can get it done. And it is amazing. It's one of those resources where I think once you have it, you realize just how valuable it is. Yep. And it just folds on itself. Absolutely.
Yeah. You heard it here first, folks. Fixing shit is sexy.
Very sexy. Yes.
No, that's awesome. And it's a great transition into the next phase or the next topic I kind of want to touch on, right? Is, there's a lot of listeners of this show who do own businesses. A lot of them are B2B. A lot of them are B2C, residential and commercial. And so, actually a lot of people reach out to me, to ask me about marketing, and I'm not a marketer.
Well, you've done success. So,
I
the
have,
ideas of what need to be done.
True, but I do not have the skills or the expertise behind why I do what I do, if that makes sense. So I think this is a really good opportunity to help, maybe answer some of those questions that have come my way, kind of pitch those over to you. Now, I don't have anything specific written down. I'm going to kind of go off of memory here, but what do you feel is the most effective? And this is a loaded question. Listen, I know there's a ton of different areas of marketing, but to the best of your ability, right? Give us the context when you need to. What's the most effective form of marketing that a B2C company can do and a B2B if they differ?
Absolutely. And I'm going to partition these two guys into different categories. I love the question, but I think that it might hit the nail if we break this a little bit more down between marketing for your emergency services and marketing for your long-term decision services.
Love it.
So what that might be is, guess what? My brand new fridge broke. Who do I need? Someone to come ASAP. This is an emergency. My HVAC broke. These are people who are going to go down a different path to find the person they're going to call and do business with versus those in long-term buy decisions, which I'll kind of say that might be more of your B2B. It might take a little bit longer to go through the corporate processes of getting something with another business completed. It may not. This is where you deem what works for your business. Something like remodeling. I would say that is a more of a long-term process. People are going through a few courses of contacting people, getting designs done, thinking about it, reevaluating their budget. It could take weeks to close one of those type of clients. So spreading it out more into emergency and long-term. When we talk emergency services, so something broke, I need it fixed ASAP. What we see the home buyer journey looking like, so it's kind of more the B2C side, but even if you're B2B, they are going straight to their phone or computer and finding that answer. So what you'll see they're doing is they're going to Google, they're typing in that industry they need, or they're typing in that problem that they're having. So water heater repair versus plumber near me. Same, in a sense, search concepts to the client, but different ways they're trying to find you. They are looking for someone who says that they do this. They're trying to get as much information as quickly as possible to get that first few phone calls out to get someone a quote in. So just curious, Josh, if you are looking for an industry that you have no referrals in whatsoever, that one thing broke on your home, what would you do? And it's something that your wife is on your ass about, needs to get fixed ASAP. Let me phrase it that way.
Well, first, I would make it much worse by trying to fix it myself.
Okay, there we go. That would stall her for a day or a few hours.
Exactly. I'll take care of it, honey. Don't worry about it.
Yes.
Honey, call the fire department first. No, you know what? I'd go right to Google. If I'm being honest, I would. I'd go right to Google and I'd say X and X repair. Right.
Yep. And guys, I didn't pay Josh to say that, but I will be giving him $20 after this podcast as a thank you.
Right.
But yes, I mean, you match my point exactly. Is if you don't know the answer, your phone's straight right in your hands, if not in your pocket at all times. So you're going to go to the source that's going to give you the answer the quickest, which would be Google. So what that means tactic wise is you need to rank in your Google business listing, like the Google map area. So you need to make sure you're getting reviews. You are making sure you have a good website that converts. Your website is your 24/7 salesperson. I mean, at 2 a.m. when that thing breaks and your wife starts yelling at you, that website's probably the only thing you're talking to, because every technician is asleep, as they should be. They're going to get wide up and early and be calling you at 7 a.m. saying, hey, thank you for filling out our contact form. We see you have a repair you need. When can we come in to help you with this? Like, the process is so quick, you need it. So you want to rank on Google. You want to do SEO with your website. And I've given you a few tactics on how to get there. What works best for your company is going to be even more custom. But the thing I would say to emphasize, to give the cleanest answer to everybody, is you want to be where they are looking first. And most likely it's going to be Google. From there, they're going to find out more information about you. So they might go through your social media real quick to make sure that, hey, they're alive. There's no like negative 1-star reviews on their Facebook that are not on their Google page. They're going to just find some things out pretty quickly about you. But the buying process is so quick that this might be just a 1 week or less, how that works with the client. The opposite, I would say, for the longer term. Would you not, is there a project you're thinking of, but you do not want to do it, Josh?
No.
Okay.
I'm a bad example.
He's got to do everything.
Literally, no, I just built a house last year. Everything's under warranty. So I'm a terrible example for this.
Okay. Well, let's just say that Josh was not as handy as he is, and he did want that new house built or remodeled. You're going to go through a lot longer buying process because of the extent of the build, plus the extent of the price tag according with this. And that's kind of one thing to remember is the higher someone's going to pay for your product or services, you best be damn sure the more you are sharing and giving to them and having the best client acquisition process of all, because they are going to expect some good handholding. And that's what we talked about earlier. The higher standards homeowners are expecting today, you need to live up to if you want to gain that clientele and be seen as the top dog in your industry, in your city, in your area. All those things add up to a homeowner, what they want to see. So it's kind of where long-term, actually, I'll push it back a little bit. Social media is a great thing outside of Google because, again, it's long-term. Maybe they're looking for more image and video-based things. So kind of when I was asking about that project, Josh, really, if your business is a huge before and after looks type of business, remodeling, roofing, people need to see the visual aspects of what you do. If they are, oh my God, the toilet's broken. Oh my God, the furnace is not working. It's 2 degrees outside. They care. They want to make sure you're legitimate. That's why Google business listings do such a good job of showing those reviews. But at the end of the day, will you show up? Will you do the price you promised? And will I get the quality I expect for the information I've gotten out of you so far for doing business with you?
Yeah. No, that's a really great answer. And I love the way that you broke it down. I never really... the way when you say it and when you describe it, it makes sense to categorize it, that way, or emergency versus long term, especially with regard to how you're going to frame the marketing. But I just never had that thought process. So I appreciate you kind of laying that out for our listeners. How about this? How about I help a lot of business owners, when they're first starting out, to help start building their business. And I try to coach them the best that I can. A question that I get a lot is, how are my marketing dollars best spent when I don't have much money? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? As far as from an ROI standpoint, and I don't know, I think that's different than the first question I asked.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, because to me, something that might work the best might not be the cheapest route to get to success.
Right.
When I'm talking about ranking in Google, I'm not talking the cheap version, basically. I mean, it costs money to rank organically, so you don't always have to spend money on ads. And if you are spending money on ads, you're either paying you're either paying per click or per lead. So it does add up, especially as much as you want to grow the business and get out of it. So the suggestions I always give someone, let's just say that you have a budget of $200 to $500 to your name a month to spend on marketing. Bootstrap this shit together, guys. Get a quick and dirty website up. I know you know a niece or a nephew that can get this done for you, because I get turned down a lot because people find a niece or a nephew that can build a website for them for cheaper. So I know you have that relationship out there. If not, there are a million website builders to get one up, because whether you are a long-term buying process or an emergency services, people have to get enough information about you to say yes. So without that website, you're not going to get a lot of information on it, or they're not going to get a lot of information off of it if you don't have it. So get something up to show something about yourself. And then honestly, right now, I would suggest that if you're more of that long-term buying process, I would put some money in really focusing on creating good content for social media, because you can put a lot less money in ads with social media than you can in Google right now and potentially get the same benefit. However, there's a caveat I'll go over very quickly. Depending on social media, it depends on how invested you are in time to create these things. As I'm talking about, when we're watching reels, overflow on Instagram, and I see, a really pretty kitchen. I have been thinking about remodeling my kitchen and I got targeted with this. Is that ad good enough to actually convert me? So you have to make sure you're being good with what you're doing. And also, as we talked with marketing, you have to be consistent. Yes. You have to be actively doing this. So it's not just going to be this is only $200 to advertise it, but it could cost you 2 hours a week, which some people drop in a bucket. Others, I cannot find the time of day to even get 2 minutes out to do this. So it might be where you need to partner with someone, spend some more money to get that done with it. But that's if you have the time to manage it, go that way. The other caveat I would say is, if you're just ready for the leads to happen right now, I can't afford anything else other than people to call me, then I would suggest your best bet are local service ads, also known as the Google guaranteed ads, where you're paying per lead. And the beauty of these, unlike regular Google ads, is you can dispute these leads. So when that person calls you directly and they ask for a service you do not provide, a service outside of your service area, or they are complete spam or just not a lead, you can say, sorry, you called the wrong business. You hang up, you push dispute, and you get that credit back towards your account to put that money back into getting an ideal client. So that might be where, given it's not as much money, but it's still time. But any business owner will realize, even with that last aspect, as long as I answer the phone, I will be doing better with my business. So that's the caveat with even any of these ads, is you have to have that good lead acquisition process in place, that good sales system. Who's answering the phone? How are they answering it? And what's the next steps after that person calls? Those have to be in place for any marketing, Josh, to work. It's a hands down thing we have to go over just there.
No, that's awesome. I love the tangibility of all this stuff. Websites. So I've built websites myself, and there's nothing I hate more in the world. Maybe painting, but other than that, like I websites are some of the best. It's one of the best investments that you can make, even if it is a smaller investment or a larger investment. It's truly your resume. We live in a day and age where if you don't have a website, people say, well, they must not be a legitimate business.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
And it foreshadows, and it could speak volumes for your business that you don't want it to speak.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I say, we're trying to up level the thought process and the stereotype that people have for the trades, and marketing yourself in a way that all these other businesses that are not in the trades market themselves. It puts you in the same level as these guys.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where that just clean experience and just information is most times what a homeowner is looking for, is just that quick, dirty hits with it. But if they lack any of those quick steps to make that decision, well, then you've lost out on them. And that's what we want to avoid, is you were there. Don't lose them once you're there, or don't even not be in the ball game because you don't have this to begin with.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I really appreciate you bringing up the consistency as well. That's so I told you, I'm not an expert in marketing. I do some things well. I have a director of marketing for my business. I rely heavily on him.
Yes.
I write the words and speak the words, and he does the rest. But when people come to me and they ask me these questions, specific to marketing, mostly my question or my answer is, I don't care what you do as long as you're consistent with it. Right. So I was happy to hear you say consistency, because listen, I started a YouTube channel in 2013, and this is when I learned this, right? It was completely a white space. Nobody was doing YouTube on equipment, restaurant equipment repair. And I didn't do much, but over the course of a week, I shot like 95 videos, and I scheduled one video a week for years. Mm-hmm. And my channel grew from over the course of 5 years from nothing to 10,000 subscribers or whatever it was, simply because every Friday they knew that it was going to, that they were going to get another video, right? And it was that consistency. Wasn't the quantity of it. It was the fact that it was just like clockwork. And
and the other aspect of consistency is track everything you're doing. This is where I usually drop a lot of F-bombs if I'm talking to anybody, because it's so fucking important. No matter what marketing you choose to do, please, for the love of God, track it. And it can be the simplest of processes. We don't have to, if you don't want, you don't have to have a fancy CRM system or a call place to answer everything for you. It is just someone with a nice little notepad next to the desk. When the phone rings, they ask, how did you find out about us? It's as simple as that. There are way better ways you can do it more effective, but bare bones free 99 is just to ask those few simple words to make sure that hey, even if I am only spending $100 on Facebook, and that's where I'm putting all of my money and all of my time marketing, is it generating anything for me? Any marketing is only effective if it's consistent and if it's tracked, because the thing with marketing is it's going to evolve. So you're going to have to change. So you need to watch to know, hey, posting once a week on my YouTube every Friday was amazing. It got me from here to there. Well, now I'm slowing down. Why is that? The expectations have changed. The algorithms have changed. You're going to have to evolve with that. So that's kind of where, as long as you're doing it consistently, you'll see the changes. And especially as long as you're tracking it, you'll know exactly when that transition happened to know I need to adjust my game plan starting now.
No, that's awesome. I appreciate the information and literally brain dumping all over my audience. I mean, it's really, they love it. You know, I get requests and I get comments all the time, just, you know, thanking me for, you know, bringing on guests with such a abundant knowledge. And so I appreciate that. And I'm sure we could keep going for hours and hours on this. I would like to move to wrap it up. We're about the 45-minute mark. You know, I want to be respectful of my audience's time as well. And obviously we'll get to a point where they can reach out to you if they have more questions. But before that, I have one more question for you, a question I like to ask all my guests. So I talk a lot, both in the podcast and in the book, about the skilled trades and how it can help you live your definition of success, whatever that is, right? As a society, we have a habit of putting people in little boxes. This is what success looks like, you know, but it's different for everyone. So I'm curious, Brittany, for you, you know, what does success look like to you, and how do the blue collar trades help you achieve it?
I love this question. So success to me would be self-satisfaction, pure happiness. How the trades have done that for me is I'm a very, very competitive person, which is a good and bad thing. But being so competitive, that means I'm kind of like a bulldog for my clients. I want to see them be successful. The minute I feel that self-satisfaction is just like construction, I got to see the before, the progress, and the after of what we needed to build to make this work for them and for them to grow your business. So when I see them happy, that is when I feel like I finally, all right, I made it. I might have been at the top of the hill, but I don't feel that I'm at the top of the hill until they tell me I'm at the top of the hill. So I love getting to see these guys grow. And honestly, as I said, most of the clients we work with are family businesses. And a lot of these guys are getting bought out by huge companies, and they're almost forced to sell because they have no one to buy it and they're just not doing well with it anymore. And that's basically what my mission is. I tell everybody, I knew since my dad was in the trades when we were doing well and he was busy, and when my dad wasn't busy, we weren't eating well. He obviously wasn't racking hours to bring home a paycheck. So to see family businesses succeed is hugely important to me, because it doesn't just affect that tradesperson, it affects the family that they feed with that paycheck. So that's why these things come together. And that's why it's so important for me to make sure that what I pick for that person works as much as possible with everything I know from my last decade of experience doing this for trade. So I appreciate you asking that. It's kind of a fun thing to say. Yeah, I love to kick ass, basically. And that's what success means for me with these guys.
I love it. I love it so much. Thank you for sharing that and the rest of your insight as well. So before we close, how can people get in touch with you? How can people find you, or One Thing Marketing? Where can they go?
I would say the best thing, if you would like to chat more, is go to our website, onethingmarketing.net. There is a button in the top corner that says free strategy session. So if you love what I have to say, you want me to break it down more custom for you, please go ahead and book a free time for me to look over your business and help you evaluate your marketing plan. If you like what I had to say, but you're not ready yet, then we actually on our homepage have a free download. So it's a book of the 9 top digital strategies and how to implement those for your trades business. So please, whether you want to talk to me or not, please at least download that ebook so you can get these things going. And it's a little bit more of a slower read than as fast of a talker I am. So I think it'll kind of help you plan out, if you're not doing it, what you need to step on the gas next.
That's awesome. I appreciate you sharing that, Brittany. And thank you again for spending your valuable time with us today. I know you got a lot to do. You sound like a very busy person over there with your hands full. But thank you for sharing all that with me and our audience.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I appreciate you trying to make the trade sexy again.
I do what I can. But all right, Brittany, until next time.